This is Southern Cross News with Joe Palmer.
Good evening everyone and welcome to Southern Cross News. A specialist doctor has ambushed the Health Minister's press conference, questioning him about the state of Tasmania's hospitals. Michael Ferguson had been announcing elective surgery funding, but the doctor said it's like putting petrol into a car that's up on blocks.
This was the moment a good news story for the government turned sour.
Thank you to you, Dr Beggs, and Dr Patel.
Can I ask a question?
Staff specialist Dr Frank O'Keefe speaking out about pressures in the health system.
It doesn't matter how much money you put into this. If we don't have beds for our major cases, we can't do the major cases, and at the moment we don't have the beds.
The Minister attempting to deflect.
Have you taken this up with the gentleman to your left?
And it doesn't matter how much money you put into it. It's a bit like putting petrol into a car that's up on blocks. You can put as much in as you like and it won't go anywhere.
So I'm just asking you a question, sir. Have you asked that question of the gentleman to your left, who's the head of surgical and perioperative?
No, I haven't.
But let's get you guys together.
The specialist whisked away from the room with his questions unanswered.
This is a sign that health professionals around the state are at a complete loss as to how they can make this minister stop what he is doing and listen to what they have to say.
The Health Minister had been announcing more funding for women's health elective surgeries. Speaker Sue Hickey lobbying her own party for $4 million to reduce wait times.
There's about 1,313 people on the waiting list. 900 are what we classify as quite urgent. They will have access to their surgery or treatment within a 2-year period.
The Tasmanian Health Service lists indicative wait times for non-urgent gynecology at 5 months in the northwest and around 9 months in Launceston and Hobart. One policy analyst warns elective surgery waiting times are a systemic issue.
Largely, that's because we haven't got enough facilities to do the job, and the more urgent cases, the emergency cases, bump the elective cases.
My advice is very clearly that the system can look forward to and absorb this extra funding and ensure that these 900 extra cases are seen to over the next 2 years.
A health boost largely overshadowed. Michael Breen, Southern Cross News.
A 57-year-old Victorian woman is assisting police after a car and drugs believed to be linked to the alleged murder of Jake Anderson Bretner were found in Victoria. Police and SES crews today continue their search for more evidence at the Launceston Tib. A torso found in bushland last week is yet to be identified. However, police are confident it belongs to Mr Anderson Bretner. Last week, 26-year-old Jack Sadler appeared in the Launceston Magistrates Court charged with murder but did not enter a plea, while 25-year-old Gemma Clark has pleaded not guilty to being an accessory after the fact of murder. Police are still urging anyone with new information to contact Crime Stoppers. A 31-year-old Gagebrook man charged with drug trafficking has today fronted Hobart's Magistrates Court. Terry Simpson was allegedly attempting to smuggle a kilo of the drug ice in his underwear when it was detected by sniffer dogs at the Hobart Airport. The 31-year-old had just disembarked from a flight from Sydney when he was arrested. He did not enter a plea or apply for bail and is expected to reappear in court on the 20th of September. A coroner's report has concluded an elderly woman died of smoke inhalation while she was trapped inside her burning home near Railton in June 2017. 87-year-old Audrey Morris was living alone in the house when a fire broke out near her wood heater. Her niece found the house engulfed in flames when she was calling in to deliver a meal. The coroner says there was nothing to suggest the fire was deliberately lit. No formal recommendations have been made. Local authorities have issued a warning about snow and ice, with Tasmania in the midst of a cold snap. A dusting of snow settled below 400 metres at Vince's Saddle north of Huonville. Launceston was the coldest major centre, dipping to -1.7 just before 6 o'clock this morning. With more cold temperatures expected this week, authorities are warning motorists to drive to the conditions and check the Tasmania Police website for road closures. If you love oysters, mussels and scallops, you might want to check where your produce is coming from. With a warning, some shellfish may be affected by a toxic algal bloom. Tasmanians have been urged to avoid wild shellfish harvested from Binalong Bay, Moulting Bay, Great Oyster Bay, the Mercury Passage and the Huon region, as they could be harmful to humans. Commercially grown seafood in shops and restaurants is safe to eat. The Department of Health says anyone who might be affected should seek medical assistance. Tasmanians are being warned to keep an eye out for slithering surprises after a copperhead snake was removed from a property in Fawcett. It's the first call out of the season for the team at Reptile Rescue, and they say more snakes will come out of hiding as the weather warms up.
With winter almost over, many of us are starting to spend more time outdoors, but we're not the only ones taking advantage of the warmer weather. This copperhead snake was a surprise visitor to a family home in Fawcett.
They're starting to feel the change in the seasons and starting to kind of come out and about a little bit.
With the help of professional snake handlers, it was safely removed. The incident sparking a warning from experts who say interfering with the reptile could be a fatal mistake.
Most people get bitten by snakes trying to kill them. Call up Reptile Rescue, counsel someone to come and remove that snake safely for you.
Snakes often dwell in bush area, meaning properties nearby are most at risk. But there are simple steps to keep scaly serpents at bay.
Keep your backyards tidy, keep around your houses clear of leaf litter and all that kind of stuff. Try and mouse-proof your house and then you'll snake-proof it as well.
And for those unlucky enough to get bitten,
2 of these sports bandages, compression bandages from the chemist, really cheap. These will save your life in the event of a snake bite. Wrap the limb as tight as you would for a sprain and then completely immobilise the bitten area.
Judy Augustine, Southern Cross News.
Drone vision has captured stunning shots of a humpback whale playing in waters off Bridport. The gentle giant can be seen frolicking close to the surface, and by the looks of it, it's thirsty work. It's later joined by a friend before continuing on its journey. We know Tasmania's produce is up there with Australia's best, but now a competition is underway to see how we fare in the fish and chip market. A local business took out the gong last year, and Tasmanians are again being urged to have their say.
The humble fish and chips is up there in the popularity stakes. Now the pressure's on to find the best in the nation.
We've got a world-class industry down here in Tasmania, that we've got world-class product.
In its second year, almost 3,000 businesses across Australia are in the running. Tasmanian Gourmet Seafoods won last year, and there's hopes another local business will again.
The highest ranked Tasmanian, unfortunately, is only 14th at the moment, so we need people to jump online.
As well as taste, a business's service, menu choices and presentation will also be considered, aiming to draw attention to the seafood industry as a whole.
One of the criteria around information actually encourages the consumer to actually go and find some more information about where their seafood comes from. Is it sustainable?
This cook says consumers are increasingly questioning the source of the produce, and he's confident Tassie's got what it takes.
Locally sustained seafood does a huge wonder for the economy. Obviously the taste as well, it's just like how fresh it can be.
His customers agree.
Probably these ones are probably the best in Tasmania that I've had. So, yeah. What makes them so good? Definitely the batter. The batter's nice and crispy. So.
A tough taste test to come. Louise Hedger, Southern Cross News.
The next generation of Tasmanian doctors has packed their bags for the bush in a bid to draw more students to rural health. Around 60 first-year students had a whirlwind test of first response skills.
A first-hand practice at medicine.
And make sure it's the heel of your hand going straight down in the middle of the chest.
These students are learning the critical skills needed to save lives, from blood pressures and needles through to CPR.
Just doing some sort of CPR practice with the dummy over there, or taking them through a few sort of more advanced airway techniques to help manage people who are struggling.
119 students have left Hobart this week to train in Launceston, but also further afield in the northwest. Experts say rural communities still suffer poorer health with distant access to services. And it's hoped this week's sessions will encourage more to take up postings in the bush once they earn their degrees.
You're more likely to understand the context of care, your patients, how they live and why they live in a rural area, the sorts of jobs they do, but also you're more likely to want to go there and practice there yourself.
A chance also for aspiring doctors to consider what field they might work in.
I'm pretty open at the moment. We haven't really had a chance to look at any specialties, but I'd love to do some work with kids, maybe peds, or maybe some emergency as well.
Sean McComish, Southern Cross News.
Two Tasmanian mechanics have had a dream come true after picking lucky numbers and winning the lottery on Saturday night. The pair, who purchased their ticket at a news agency in Hobart's Mall, won $603,000 in the Division 1 draw. They've been buying tickets together for over 10 years and said they plan to knock off work early to celebrate. Now let's take a look at the day's business and finance news with thanks to Tasplan, your local super fund. A turnaround in the banking sector plus gains for mining and telco stocks have boosted the ASX back into positive territory. The ASX 200 index rose 21.6 points. A short time ago, the Australian dollar was trading at 73.19 US cents and 109.53 New Zealand cents.
The TSL first, and Glenorchy's incredible comeback win over Launceston may have come at a cost, with star forward Jay Bowden likely to miss the rest of the final series with injury. But after proving they can do it without him, belief is at a season high within the club. It was the most memorable fight back seen all year.
Yeah, that's probably one of the best wins I've been involved in at the club. Yeah, it was absolutely unreal. You couldn't really write a script.
With the Blues dictating terms for 3/4 of play, the Pies found themselves 20 points down at the final change as Paul Kennedy called on his men to dig deep.
3/4 time, PK just said, just belief. Do you believe in yourselves? And we answered yes, and came up with an interesting stat. We had outscored them in final quarters all this year, 14 goals to 4.
The 14-point win providing the club with a much-needed mental boost as they prepare to take on a side many feel can't be beaten from here on in.
It's a well-known fact, I guess, even in the AFL, some teams come off flat after the bye, and we'll definitely be using that momentum from the win on Saturday coming into the big challenge of North Lonnie up there.
Awaiting scans on his leg, Jay Bowden is a likely out for the semi-final clash, making way for the string of big-name players due for return, including Reece Mott, Clinton French and Zach Webster.
Don't need to rely on one person up in the forward line. I mean, Brodie Rowbottom's second game of the year came in, kicked 4. Will Atkin, Dan Joseph coming off the half-back line sort of kicked the sealer there in the last quarter. Anyone can be beaten on their day, and we proved that on the weekend.
Jake Birtwistle's impressive 2018 has continued, with the Tasmanian claiming bronze against a world-class field at the Montreal Triathlon in Canada.
And here's Birtwistle trying to run Richard Murray out of the podium and looking like succeeding. He finishes so strongly, Murray can't respond, and it's going to be the Aussie who will complete the 1-2-3.
The result keeps the Commonwealth Games silver medalist right in contention for the overall victory, which is set to be decided at the final race of the WTS series on the Gold Coast next month. And it was a day to forget for Richie Porte at the Tour of Spain as the Tasmanian continues to struggle with fitness issues. Battling a bout of gastro leading into the event, Porte looked out of sorts during stage 2, finishing up 13 minutes and 31 seconds off the pace, with the 2017 Tour Down Under champion now sitting in 148th position. It's Porte's first race since crashing out of last month's Tour de France with a broken collarbone.
Good evening. 9 degrees today in Hobart. Launceston had a top of 12 degrees after a chilly start, with 12 degrees in Burnie and Devonport. The state's top was 13 today for Medina and Edison Point, 12 degrees for Smithton, Low Head and also King Island, 11 on Flinders, 11 also at St Helens and Strawn, 12 degrees for Ouse with 2 degrees the top after -5 start for Lyowini. Low convective cloud over Tasmania today, clearer conditions throughout Bass Strait, and further out shows cold, speckled cumulus cloud over the state and the southeastern regions, a surface trough moving across WA with an associated cloud band and low cloud over the tropical northeast. Clear elsewhere. Tomorrow the high ridge still dominates the continent, troughs in WA and Queensland remain. South to southeasterly winds 10 to 20 knots, reaching 25 to 30 about the east and variable about the west, with seas between 1 and 2 metres. There is a strong wind warning current for eastern coastal waters from the northern tip of Flinders Island to Wineglass Bay, and a road weather alert is current for snow-covered roads above 500 metres. On the forecast tomorrow, showers through the south, 10 degrees in Hobart, 9 at Adventure Bay and 7 for Tarraleah. A few clouds for Launceston, Bridport and mostly sunny in Devonport, 11 degrees throughout. 11 and sunny for Burnie and Strawn also, 10 for Marrawar. 10 degrees and showers for St Helens and Swansea, with 11 the top at Whitemark. Coastal showers in the east on Wednesday, a fine day elsewhere. Afternoon rain in the northwest, extending to the statewide rain later on Thursday, with wet conditions continuing across the state throughout Friday. Around Australia tomorrow, 18 and showers for Perth, 19 degrees in Adelaide, mostly sunny for Brisbane and Cairns, 13 in Melbourne, with showers clearing for Sydney, 16 and 29 and sunny in Broome. And a cloudy evening at the moment across Tasmania, 6 degrees for Hobart, Launceston 7 and 7 in Devonport. Back to you, Jo.
All right, thank you very much for that, Sam. And that's all from the team for now. We'll be back with updates right throughout the evening. Thanks for your company. Bye-bye.